Hey again, everybody. We're having another HTML and CSS tutorial here for our web design class. And for this one, we're actually going to use the product that we came up with the previous tutorial. And if you go to the TechBiz Tutorials YouTube page where we've looked for some of those things in the past and where I've set up all my other videos at. There's one on there called HTML and CSS Basics Getting Started with Multimedia, and it was one where we learned how to incorporate multimedia into our image, into our web page, and we also used it for some CSS practice. And so we're just going to kind of look at some things here that kind of go along with our text reading that are going to help us to make our site responsive. A responsive web page is one that adjusts itself depending on the screen size and is super important because it makes things easier to navigate on mobile devices and just helps everything to fit and look nice no matter what the screen size is. So that's kind of what we're doing. So that's the page there. Make sure you go through that, or if you have that information saved still from your other tutorials, you can open those up, or you can watch that and then come back to this video. But in here, I have this information still saved in the same spot. So I called it index.html, and here's our title information up here, our navigation menu, and then we have the part for the image, for the sound, the slideshow, all that kind of stuff, the video, and the footer. And then for the CSS, we came up with our styling for each of those elements. And when we were done, we launched it in Chrome, and it looked kind of like this. So with this website, you could shrink it down, but you can see like where the slideshow doesn't fit in there, and the rest of the stuff we made it be percentages for the width, so it's a little bit responsive to start with. But we're going to look at a few things that can change some of this, and just how to use some different elements to make our page adjust to the size. So let's go ahead and get started. To begin with, I'm going to rename these two files, my index.html, my styles.css, so that they can be I can still have access to my old files, and these will be two different projects, even though a lot of it's going to be the same. So for index.html, I'm going to go up here and go to File, Save As, and I'm just going to call this one responsive index.html. Okay, and now it's up there. And then this one here, my styles, I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to rename this one, and I'm keeping them in the same folder for now, even though that's not a great thing to do, but just to keep all of our tutorials and stuff together. I'm going to call this one responsive styles.css. And there we go. So we rename those. And then we'll make a few changes here. So this one up here, instead of it being called multimedia site, I'll call this responsive multimedia site. And I need to change the link here to my CSS so that it goes to the correct CSS. And I'm going to have that one be responsive styles.css. Alright, I'm going to save that. And then going over here to my responsive style CSS, up here I'm just going to say CSS document for responsive multimedia site tutorial template. Alright, so that way those things kind of match together in there, and everything looks kind of nice with that. We're not, at this time, I don't believe we're not going to make any other changes to our responsive, or to the HTML file. We can keep all that stuff in there, and all of the responsive things we're going to do are with this CSS document. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do, this sound, in some of the browsers, depending where it's at, I didn't want the sound to be stretched out either. On a mobile device where the screen could get smaller than this, that might cause a problem, and it would stick beyond, this wide area, just like my slideshow is. So what I want to do is I'm going to make my sound here, I want it to be the same width as this white area in here. So to stay organized, I know that this sound on here in my CSS, I put it between my image and my slideshow. So I'm going to look on here, and where I have photograph and slideshow, it's right there. This is where I'm going to put my stuff to make my audio more responsive. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say audio, and I'm going to put my bracket there. Width is 100%, semicolon, and then I'm going to close that up down here at the end. Okay, so we got that set right there, and I'm going to close this out. I'm going to close this. I'm just going to close all this out. And I'm going to go run, launch in Chrome. And of course, make sure you don't do what I just did. I want to launch the HTML in Chrome. There we go. And now as I look at, and I'll go back to my CSS now. Now when I look in here, no matter what, this media player here is going to be the width of that, so it won't ever be too big or too small. Obviously on full screen mode it gets a little bit longer, but that's not terrible, and it'll always fit in here at least. So okay, so we got that part done, and now what we want to do is we want to make a few changes to make the rest of this fit and to adjust when it gets very small. Okay, so I want to now go to the very end of my CSS from that file that we had created before, and we want to use a media tag. So the way to do this is we would put at, let me enter down here a lot so this is up towards the top. Alright, so I have at media only screen, and what I want to put in here is I want to give it a max width in this case. So I'm going to say max hyphen width colon space, and I want to go 1100 pixels. Alright, and then what do I want to do with my screen with this? Well, the first thing is with my slideshow. Remember when we made this slideshow, it was just an a simple HTML CSS one, and if we messed with the sizes too much, it would really screw up the layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say when we're in too small of a screen, I'm just going to have the slideshow not be visible on this web page. If it's nothing that's super important for content wise, maybe I only want it in desktop mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 1100 pixels, and then after that I'm going to put my fancy bracket here and hit enter, and I want to put in here # sign slideshow, and then in here I need to put brackets, and I'm going to just say display colon none. Otherwise I could use, if I really wanted that slideshow to be present, I'd find a different method to use of that slideshow, but just to show you how we can hide things on here using this. Alright, and then we have this one, this display none in brackets, and then also we have to close this last bracket here for our media only screen. So that's there. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to refresh my image here. I'm going to go to my slideshow, And you can see here's the slideshow, and then as I shrink this down, once it gets to be the 1100 pixels, it makes it disappear. But I left the other information there just to show you that, that it's still there. And so now when the screen is very small, I don't have that slideshow sticking out from the sides of it. Okay. Now I want to show you some other things that you can do with responsiveness of a web page. That would allow you to adjust the size of it depending on the size of the screen. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. And if you're ever not sure of what to use for sizes, you can always search responsive media screen sizes, and make, if you want it to be a certain phone, you can make a media only screen section for the pixels for that size of the phone so that it looks different depending on that. Or you could have as many of these on your web page as you want, basically. All right, so down here I'm going to say like this up here was maybe for a tablet view, and now I'm going to make one of these for a mobile device view. So I'm going to add underneath here another media only screen and max width, and here I'm going to go 600 pixels. All right. And I'm going to put a fancy bracket here, hit enter. And now what I want to do is I want to make all the rules for the different CSS things I've created and for the HTML elements that I've created, and I'm going to give them new sizes for this. All right. So we have that on here. Media only screen and max width. All right, 600 pixels. And I'm going to start here and I'm going to go body. And what do I want the body to do? I'm going to have the width of the body be 90%. All right, and a semicolon. And I'm just going to close this thing up down here quite a ways, okay? So that way I have that done. And I'm going to test this out now. So, if I was creating this for a mobile device, I don't need there to be such a big margin on the sides. I want that to possibly extend out. So as I move this down, you can see how that starts to stretch out there, okay? And it's starting to adjust the sizes a little bit. All right. So we have media only screen, max width, 600 pixels. And I want to check and make sure here, if I have, I'm just going to use another browser too to see if how compatible it is with those others. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay, so we have that in there. 90% for the body. Okay, and then underneath that, I'm going to make another rule. So I'm going to say this is what's really going to actually make that size be correct. So I'm going to say margin hyphen left is going to be 5%. And actually I want to take this out because I have the body there and I have the width. I'm going to have the margin left be 5%, and then I'm going to say margin hyphen right is also going to be 5%. And now I'm going to close that up since all three of these rules are going to be for the body there. So now when I hit refresh and I shrink this down, now the size of this is 90%, but it's centered. And we have 5% width here, 5% there. So it gives us more, it stretches out to the edge further on our mobile device. If maybe you don't want there to be any space in there, then you could just say, body would be 100%, you know, and then it would take out that extra space. But we'll just leave it like this for now. Okay, and then after that, then I want to make some rules here for the navigation. So I'm going to go dot top nav, because that's what we called our space for our navigation. And then I'm going to say width is 100%, semicolon. And then underneath that, I'm going to go with overflow colon hidden, semicolon. And then I'm going to fix those. And then also the elements inside of there. So that's going to make my navigation menu be 100% of the width of the new 90% width of the whole page, which is to the extent of the body. And then I need to make a few changes to my A elements. So I have A, and my A was like each of those links in my navigation bar. So I'm going to say A colon width. And I want the width of these to be 100%. And then I'm going to go display is going to be block. And then I'm going to go text hyphen align center. And then I'm going to change, I'm going to say background hyphen color pound 000000. So you can make whatever rules that you want for your web page. It's always going to follow these CSS rules we made. But then adding these down here says we're going to skip those other rules if any of them can be changed based on the size of the screen that we're determining down here. All right. And then I'm going to say border hyphen style is solid, and border hyphen width is 1 pixel, and then border hyphen color is pound 323232, and then I'm going to close that one up. And then obviously down here we have the closing of our this media section. Alright, so I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to go back to my page here, and let's hope I didn't mistype anything. Okay, so I hit refresh. We have this going on with our display menu, or with our nav menu up here. So here we have a page that's more responsive than it was before. Everything fits and looks nice in here. We have all these elements on desktop view. When we start to shrink the page, when we get to the slideshow, alright, the slideshow disappears and we just have our important content here if you wish to do that. And then as I shrink this down further, you know, if I was trying to click on these little links on a mobile phone, you know, it's going to be a lot harder to push those without having to zoom into my screen and do all that, or switch my phone to landscape view and that kind of stuff. But if I shrink it down, then each one of these links becomes 100% width and they stack up on top of each other. And the page still looks very nice. It would look just as effective in your media view, in your small screen view, as your full screen. And you know, that to again emphasize the point, a vast majority of first-time internet users come to a web page is it's in a mobile device view, you know. And if it's not easy to navigate around and all that, and you can't find stuff quickly, you know, before their attention span skips away, you're not going to generate repeat traffic, and which means they're never going to get to it, no matter how great it looks in a desktop view. So you really want your page to look nice at all sizes, you know, and to be easy to be accessed and all that kind of stuff, for no matter what the platform that the user is using. That's the whole point of this responsive website. So again, hopefully that helps. This is a little shorter of a demonstration because we've already done most of the work before. But you can also go to the internet and go to like W3 schools, do a search for that, and then go responsive web design. And this W3 schools has all sorts of demonstrations where they can take you through. I just showed you ways to make a design we already created to have it be responsive. But here they show you, and you can try it yourself. There's a desktop view here. This is kind of like the 3 columns we used before for some of our earlier activities, and then what it would look like in a tablet and what it would look like in a phone, and then shows you how to do that. And then you can go to the try it yourself section, and they have your information over here where you can change your CSS, and they have the media sections over here, and you can get all that fixed and make your page responsive in that setting. So you can kind of see other ways how to do that. So there's no just one way to make a proper responsive page. You just have to think, what do you want the purpose to be? What's the most important stuff? What would be easy to click on in a big screen, but how would we need to adjust for that if the screen is much smaller, especially for people with like big thumbs or whatever. So yeah, play around with this tutorial. Check out that w3schools.com has awesome resources for CSS and HTML, and then you can try out their responsive tutorials as well and use that for your assignment. So hopefully this showed you a few tips and tricks, and you learned a few new things with it, and we'll talk again at the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.